In this presentation, I'm talking about the types of student interactions that we need to be including in our online course in order to have really high quality, engaging online classes. So, let's see. The three important interactions are all student to content, student to instructor, and student to students. So we have these interactions within our face-to-face classes, and we really need to make sure that they are present within our online classes. They need to be, all three need to be present within your class as a whole. As much as possible, if you can include them within your weekly or module units, unit modules, that's even better. So you'll have to decide on your class, but you really want to do it. So the reason these components are there is it makes your class much more engaging. The student will feel more connected because of these interactions. But again, if you have one unit or module where maybe one of them isn't there, maybe you don't have as much student-to-student interaction just because it doesn't fit, in 1 week, that is you'll be fine. So again, the student to content interactions, these are the easiest to identify. This is anytime the student is interacting directly with your content. So if they're reading a textbook, if they're watching your video lectures, or if they're completing a lab assignment where they are applying content. So this is the student directly interacting with your course content. Websites will fit, external videos. If they're going out and doing research on a specific topic that's assigned, it's all them using, manipulating, reading, viewing the content. Again, the easiest to identify. The student-to-student interactions are probably the interaction where you might experience some potential student pushback because some students don't want to interact with each other, but these interactions help the students come together as a community of learners. So these interactions take place in learning activities, in your discussions. They can involve things like peer review if the students are doing projects or presentations, if they have an early checkpoint where they turn it in. Maybe they've done a self-review, but then they follow it up with a peer review. So they're interacting and giving each other feedback. They're huge benefits. We see the benefits in the face-to-face classroom. They also exist in the online classroom. Labs I've listed here, labs can be student-to-student interactions depending on how you've designed the labs. If the students happen to work together, or there are components of the lab where they collaborate, so maybe they're each gathering their own data and then they share it together. Those are all places where they're coming back together and talking about the content. So at that point, it's a student-to-student interaction. To avoid potential with student pushback, you'll need to really set the expectations early in your class. Again, going back to time zero, put it in your syllabus, make sure students know before they get started that they're going to be interacting. The third type is the student to instructor interactions. This is anytime the student is interacting with the instructor in some way, and it is both synchronous and asynchronous interactions. So it includes your instructor introduction that you create in your course, so your instructor profile. It's how you create your course community. So you have your students creating student profiles early on, go through and welcome every single student to your class. It's how you pull them in, and it's just one more of your student to instructor interactions. All of your involvement in the learning activities like discussions, if you choose to be present, or even if you're just going through and summarizing that, you're going to be showing the students that you are present and you are actually interacting with them, even if it is asynchronous. All of any individualized or course-wide feedback that you provide, anything you've typed and you've shared with the students, or you've done a video, screencast, whatever, that feedback that you provide is the instructor directly back to the student for the feedback. And then all course communications. These communications can be your weekly announcements, blog videos, They can actually be your lectures. If you have a lecture video where you're in there talking about it or getting all super excited about your topic, those all are included. Class-wide emails, individual emails, text messages that you might send through a tool like Remind. All of those are those student to instructor interactions. So the reason we want these all present is that the student, if you're just like read the textbook, take the test, and then get to like if you're never interacting with the instructor, you're going to feel lost. If you're not ever interacting with the students, you're going to feel like you're on an island by yourself. So these three types of interactions come together to let the students know that they're not on an island, they're part of a community. So community building begins on day 0, if not day like minus 100 or 15, minus 15. You need to set your expectations for interaction well before your course starts. You do this by creating an instructor profile that shares a bit about who you really are. Be human, share what you're comfortable with, but make sure your students know that you're not a computer cyborg, you're really a human. Have your students create student profiles and interact with each other. Don't ask them just to create a profile and then never go in there. Have them create a profile and then read through the other profiles and find 3 other people that they have something in common with and comment on their profiles. So that's a really easy step to help build that community. You can utilize small groups within your classes. I'd recommend group sizes probably around 10. You could get down to 6. It just depends on your course. When you think about it, at 6, if some students drop or are not present for whatever reason, the group sizes can start to get small, and then it can be hard to hold discussions. So you'll find your right balance for your learning activities and discussions. Be very consistent in the type of interactions. The students might push back against discussions at the beginning, but if you use them consistently in every module, they'll get used to your pattern. And so then they'll figure it out and the complaints will go away. And then use rubrics, your syllabus, your welcome letter, and your course policies to establish all of your expectations for those student-to-student interactions and even student-to-instructor communications. So for email, if the student sends you an email, make sure you have a policy about, they can expect to hear back from you within 24 hours or 48 hours, whatever it is. Be consistent, put that expectation in there so that they know if they haven't heard back from you after the time passes, they can follow up because maybe you lost the email. It happens. But all of that will help build your community, and it will help the students feel connected to your course and engaged.